What is going on, everyone? We are days away from the start of NFL free agency, and from what we've heard from general manager Nick Caserio, the Houston Texans are more than likely not going to be spending a lot of money during this year's free agency period. We only got around $8 million worth of cap to work with. Now, this is before we get some contract restructures. The Houston Texans could add potentially $30 to $35 million with contract restructures to Laramie Tunsil, Titus Howard, Nico Collins, Danielle Hunter. So the Texans could end up with some money at the end of the day to spend on free agents, but I don't think this Houston Texans team needs to spend like they did last year. And last year we saw Azeez Al-Shaair get a 3-year deal, Dalton Schultz get a 3-year extension, Danielle Hunter 2 years, $48 million, Joe Mixon 3 years, $30 million. The Texans spent a lot of money last offseason. Now, they will have one more opportunity to spend some money before they have to pay C.J. Stroud, and that is next year. But we are in 2025. I'm going to give you some of my favorite free agents that will not break the bank for this Houston Texans team. Let me add in one more thing. I don't think this Texans team needs a lot of work. You have cornerstone pieces on offense, cornerstone pieces on defense. And you know what needs to be fixed? You need to beef up your offensive line, and you need to bring some more bodies in the wide receiver room. That's what you need to do on offense. On the defensive side, you feel very comfortable after what they did after their previous 2 seasons under head coach DeMeco Ryans. Maybe some depth at the defensive tackle spot, at the safety spot, but that's about it. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get started with some of my favorite free agents for this upcoming NFL free agency period. My name is Ruben Calvillo, and this is the 713 Houston Sportcast, where I drop daily Houston Texans content. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest Houston Texans news, rumors, and updates. Now, the first player I'm going to bring up, we've talked about him before, Kevin Zeitler from the Detroit Lions, currently a guard, a right guard, which is a need for the Houston Texans. After spending the past 3 years in Baltimore, Zeitler joined Detroit, which was a near seamless fit. His 86.8 PFF overall grade in the regular season was his best since 2014, and his 87.2 PFF run blocking grade was a career-high mark. The 34-year-old could be a cheap yet effective guard option open on the market. That sounds like exactly what the Houston Texans need. And, adding another veteran in that O-line room, I love. And someone who is coming from, 2 pretty good organizations, the Baltimore Ravens, and, just recently now considered one, the Detroit Lions. I feel like Kevin Zeitler could also, build I wouldn't say build, but add on to the culture that head coach DeMeco Ryans is building, is bringing in players that are tough, smart, and dependable, Bill O'Brien. And I think that is exactly what a Kevin Zeitler, is. If you want to protect C.J. Stroud, if you don't want to spend some money, the only thing wrong with Kevin Zeitler, ladies and gentlemen, is that he's 34 years old. If this was 5 years ago, we're talking about him being, one of the best available guards on the market. This is also a Band-Aid. Kevin Zeitler might be here for 1, maybe 2 years. You know what you're getting into when you bring in someone like Kevin Zeitler. This is a bridge, giving you some time to find your future at the guard spot. And hey, wouldn't mind Kevin Zeitler at all from the Detroit Lions. Now, I want to talk about 2 guys right here. The first one, Stefon Diggs. He's been on our mind all off season. Let me know in the comments down below, do you want to see the Houston Texans and Stefon Diggs reunite for 1 more year? Maybe 1 to 2 more years. Here's what PFF has to say. Playing in an offense where he was no longer the top target didn't hinder Diggs' effectiveness. The star wide receiver was on pace to extend his streak of seasons with a PFF receiving grade above 75 and a drop rate below 10% on catchable passes before a season-ending ACL tear. That type of injury for an older player who wins with lateral agility will make for an interesting free agent dance. Diggs' situation has shades of Odell Beckham's Jr. free agency period in 2023 when he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl in 2021 and did not play in 2022 before signing a one-year, $15 million fully guaranteed contract. Obviously, the money has to make sense for me to fall in love with this deal, but I would not be upset if the Houston Texans brought back Stephon Diggs. If you are asking me, do I want it to happen, yes or no, I'm leaning towards no. I would rather, to see them go younger, which is why I'm going to bring up the second guy in a minute. But from what we'd heard from DeMeco Ryans, from what we'd heard from Nick Caserio, hearing Stephon Diggs saying, I have a home here in Houston, knowing how much CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, Nico Collins loves Stephon Diggs, it's hard not to see a situation where he returns on a short-term contract. With that being said, if you bring in Stephon Diggs, that shouldn't hinder you at all from drafting a wide receiver high if you want to in the draft. Now, the second guy I wanted to discuss, Elijah Moore. Now, Elijah Moore, 25 years old. His time in the NFL, he spent with horrible franchises. His first two seasons with the New York Jets. Year one, 538 yards, 5 touchdowns off of 43 catches. 2022, 446 yards off of 37 catches, 1 touchdown. Gets traded to the Cleveland Browns, spent the previous 2 seasons there. 640 yards off of 49 receptions and 2 touchdowns. And this season in Cleveland, 61 catches, which was a career high for 538 yards and 1 touchdown. And we know how bad the quarterback play has been the previous years for the Cleveland Browns, and hell, even for the New York Jets. CJ Stroud will be the best quarterback that Elijah Moore has played with in his NFL career. That could be a low-risk, high-reward move for the Houston Texans, one that I am more leaning to. If you're asking me, would I rather have Stephon Diggs coming or Elijah Moore coming? Because of the unknown, because of the youth. And the youth is what I am looking at here. I'm leaning more towards Elijah Moore on this one. But like I said, would not be upset if Stephon Diggs returns. So I wanted to take a look at the defensive tackle spot here for the Houston Texans. Looking at a veteran and, maybe some depth. So I want to talk to you about 2 guys. Now, one of them is an ageless veteran, and that is Calais Campbell, who recently played with the Miami Dolphins. The ageless wonder put together a sensational 2024 season as he nears 40 years of age, with a trade-off, in his own paraphrase words, of losing speed over time but maintaining brute strength. This reality is reflected in Campbell's elite PFF run blocking grades, as he can still hold up at the point of attack as well as anyone. It's probably up to Campbell whether he plays next year and where exactly that may be. Calais Campbell has been all over the league as of late, and I think this could be a cheap one-year deal. You give him another opportunity to get a Super Bowl ring, contend in the playoffs, he would immediately become a fan favorite here in Houston. We know it's not long term, only 1 year. Wouldn't mind this whatsoever. The other guy I wanted to talk about, Jarran Reed from the Seattle Seahawks. I can see this being a 1 to 2 year type of deal. 32 years old, Reed is still a handful to contain as an interior pass rusher, which is quietly the best crop of talent in free agency. However, Reed is the proven commodity and elder statesman among a pool of largely young players who have displayed potential but perhaps not produce consistently. His run defensive grade was 54.5. His pass rush grade was 74.6. Wouldn't mind a Jarran Reed at all. Shouldn't stop you from, selecting a defensive tackle in the draft. But I will say this. We found out that the Houston Texans have primarily met with offensive guys, wide receiver and running backs being the top two in terms of meetings that the Houston Texans had. With that being said, I like either of these defensive tackles, Calais Campbell or Jarran Reed. If you are asking me who would I want, I would say Jarran Reed because he is a little bit younger, 32 years old. But I mean, I would not be upset at all with the Calais Campbell. Both of these dudes will be cheap, and I think both of these dudes will be effective for this DeMeco Ryans defense. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my free agent want list. We are days away from learning what this Houston Texans team is going to do. For more Houston Texans content, you guys know what to do. Feel free and follow me for more. Go Houston. Have a very blessed day.